So our second story tonight is from Pablo Knobel.
Knobel.
Yes, I didn't want to Knobels. He is an environmental epidemiologist, born and raised in Barcelona, and he's now a postdoctoral fellow at the Icahn School of Medicine. So please put your hands together for Pablo.
Okay. Feels great. Does it sound great? Yeah. Hopefully. Yeah, great. Okay. A lot happened during COVID. But I think we can all agree that the craziest thing that happened was that my dad could not read the subtitles on the TV. The only obvious solution for this was buying the biggest TV in the market. And to no one's surprise, well, to my dad's surprise, he could still not see the subtitles on the TV. 2 weeks later, he was diagnosed with cataracts, and 2 months later, he was getting surgery. Somehow, he convinced the surgeon to do both eyes at the same time, and my understanding is that something that usually you don't do because you basically go blind. So they tried to avoid it, but somehow it happened. Who knows? So I went with him out to the hospital, wait for him, and got on a taxi back. And I don't know how it works in your countries, but in Spain, you talk with your taxi driver. And my dad explained he's an infectious diseases specialist, and I explained I'm an environmental epidemiologist. I look at how things in the environment influence our health. And yes, I'm still doing that in this country, trying to do with fairly funded projects. I am looking for a job. I will say it again. I am currently looking for a job in fairly funded research, doing environmental epidemiology. And when we say this, not the job part, that what we do for a living, the taxi driver asked us, should I get vaccinated? And keep in mind that this was deep into vaccination in Spain. I had 1 vaccine and 1 booster in me already. So I look at my dad. My dad does not look back because he's blind. But there was some kind of understanding that we're like, we're going for this, we're going for this. And we've been training. It's been almost a year and a half of talking with colleagues, seeing the news, talking with friends, talking with enemies, that people should get vaccinated. So we had the arguments. We knew what to talk about. It's not just about your health, it's about your loved ones, it's about your clients, you're a taxi driver. It's about community. And even though it's a conversation and still go back in my mind a lot and think about it a lot, it felt kind of empowering. I think we convinced this guy to get vaccinated. I hope he went home, vaccinated himself, and then vaccinated all his family. I dream of him becoming a cult of vaccination and just vaccinated as much people as possible. And I think that might have happened. That's how it felt after the conversation. Since that happened, a few months later, I moved out of Barcelona and I moved to New York to do my postdoc. But I'm still pretty much in contact with my parents. One thing we've been doing for many, many years is December holidays in Uruguay. That makes sense if you know that my parents live in Spain, the rest of my family lives in Argentina. So we all travel there. But we do exactly the same every year. The same house, the same place, the same dates, the same people. And it's not just every day, a year the same, every day is the same. We try to go to the beach at 10, and we make it at 11. We put ourselves in the same exact spot, set camp. I get my sunscreen on while my family talks with the rest of the families who are doing exactly the same around us. I walk with my dad for exactly 1 hour to exactly the same spot, and usually have not exactly the same conversations, but they're pretty similar. We go back, I sit down and complain about the beach. My family tries to convince me that the beach, it's way better if you get into the water. And I always think to myself, sea salt and sand in my soft skin sounds wonderful as alliteration, but in reality is an absolute nightmare. So I escape to the house, get a shower, realize I'm deeply sunburned, doesn't matter where I do, and then we go into the afternoon and the evening. One thing that has been slightly different this year is that, to put it in simple terms, my mom has had on her, I never know if it's roster or rooster, but the context will help you with this. She's had in her roster, I think it's roster, yes. On her roster, a psychologist and a psychiatrist. We have added recently a neurologist. And that has brought many things into the game. One of them is that her "I'm your mom, I know better" has been empowered. And that's led to a lot of, let's say, interesting conversations. How she thinks she shouldn't take her allergy medication, or how she knows how the pasta has to be cooked, even though she's not in the room, she's not cooking, she doesn't know what pasta we're doing, but she knows exactly how it should be done. One thing that happens a lot is when I explain each things I'm facing in the US that I don't know how to handle, she knows exactly how we should do it, and it's the same way as we do it in Spain, and no matter how much I explain it, it won't go through. She's like, this is how you do it in taxes, same thing, same process, what is the difference? These conversations are frustrating, feel a little bit like getting against the wall that I continue to bang my head against. And they're saddening, and they're worrying, they're upsetting. I'm worrying about what we have now, and I'm worried about what's to come. Last day of the trip, I went to Buenos Aires before going back to New York. And again, I got in a taxi to go to the airport. And in Buenos Aires, it's the same as in Barcelona. You talk with your taxi driver. However, you're going to talk politics, and you know you're not going to agree. And we started talking for a little while. We agreed on some things. We disagreed on something else, until I mentioned I'm a scientist, where the conversation goes on a complete standstill, as does the car. It's 40-minute mark on the ride, and I should be in the airport already, but we're just in a jam. We're completely stopped, not moving. After like 5 minutes, he turns around. Let me see if I can. He turns around, look at me in the eyes. The car stays the same, just him. Look at me dead in the eyes, and goes, as a scientist, do you think the Earth is flat? And I'm ready for this. I'm ready. Well, I'm feeling apex predator, ready to jump. I got the arguments, and I start explaining all the evidence we have that the Earth is, in fact, round. The horizon, the shadows, the stars, the whole thing. And he wouldn't have it. He was like, I'm seeing a lot of YouTube videos that are doing very interesting experiments, and I'm seeing those. You scientists are doing things that I don't fully understand, so I don't know. It looks pretty flat to me. This was already frustrating, so I knew I had to bring up the big guns. And I know now this is my mistake. Not my first mistake, but a big mistake. And I said, if the Earth is flat, that means that there is a conspiracy theory. Well, the conspiracy theory is not a theory. Really, there's people that know how the world works, and they're not telling us. And he's like yeah, might be. They're lying to us about things. Who says, I don't know, satellites, who knows how they work? You know, you're a scientist, I don't know. YouTubers, maybe. I've learned that, and I've learned this before, but I know that the question you need to ask to these people is, what would need to happen for you to believe the Earth is round? So I asked that, and he had no answer. And by having no answer, I was completely defeated. I was on the ground, out. I went from apex predator to a deer in the dark, crossing the road, being, how it's called in English? Run by a taxi driver who doesn't believe the Earth is fucking round. He finally dropped me at the airport, and I was literally crying. This was intense. I was upset. I was worried. I was thinking how crazy that conversation was, and how I was thinking about the state of the world, the state of this country, and I'm like, oh, wait, this is actually happens. When I got back to New York, I got on a call with my therapist, and he asked me how the trip was. And believe me when I say that talking about my mom would have been maybe tied for first thing I should have talked about. But I think you see where this is going. I talked about the taxi driver. And he asked me, why did you engage in such conversation? Why? And same as Dariel said, you got the fire going on you. I had to do it. I had to. But I don't have to do it. There's conversations like the one with my mom that I will have again and again and again. I will continue banging my head against it every day. And there's conversations I would not have ever again, that I would avoid any way I can. But telling them, realizing the ones I want to have, it's very easy. Realizing the ones I don't want to have, it's quite complicated. But I'm learning to do it. I'm learning my techniques, and I'm using a tool I already have in my shed. If there's a conversation I feel, I connect, I listen to my gut, listen to my tummy, I look at it, I do a sad face, blame my IBS, and just escape.